Aloha, 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 aloha to the warriors out there. Road to 45, day 10. And today we're going to get a little personal. Today we're going to talk about why I walked away from basketball my senior year in high school. And I hope that at least this story inspires at least one person out there to figure out what and who they are and what they're doing in their lives. And if I can, then that's the whole point of going there. So let's dig into it. Basketball was the one sport that I could play, or I learned to play, that I wasn't coached by anybody that was related to me or related to my friends that I was playing with. So I grew up playing t-ball and baseball and softball, and my aunties and my uncles were pretty much my coaches, and then their friends were my coaches. I also played volleyball first before basketball. But a lot of my coaches were my friends' parents, and they were close to my family, so it almost felt like you still had family coaching you. But basketball was one of those sports when I got introduced to it. Nobody I knew or was related to was coaching it, so I took it and I took a liking to it, and I pretty much spent 6 to 8 years living like a gym rat, going to gyms almost every weekend. So at about 9 or 10 years old, my friend from Kyokaha in the homestead, she's like, "Let's go play basketball. We need a team. Come join our team." And we all played volleyball first, so it was kind of like, okay, well, let's just try it. And I loved it. I fell in love with the game. I fell in love with what it was about, and I think more so, I fell in love with the fact that I could be me. That is not me, part of a family of athletes that plays a specific sport. Uh, and then my friend Mary's dad became our coach, and he took us from just being in the homestead to seeing what the whole island was like playing basketball and women's basketball. Now, don't get me wrong, we played a lot of open gyms with, and it was co-ed, so we learned tough to run with the men and the boys. But it was good. It was good discipline. It was great um, skill building, and I see that is very different today, and how things are tended to when it comes to the sport of basketball, locally, statewide, and then nationally, and then internationally. So, coming out of the homestead, you know, playing what is now called club ball, we got experience playing in different courts, open courts, outdoor courts, gyms, open gyms, co-ed, um, and it really taught me discipline, but it also taught me how to be a team player. And I enjoyed being a part of a group that was trying to figure out how to make plays and how to get the ball in the basket and score and then get back on defense. It just really builds your character. And then high school starts. And you go from playing with your friends, and then you start to realize that you're gonna try out for a team that you didn't necessarily play with everybody, but you learn again, part of that trial and error is you're learning to play with more people. And high school is a little different because you're trying out for the team. So ninth grade year, freshman year comes, make the team at Hilo High, and still love the game, still in love with the game, still very excited to be in that space. But as you grow up and as you grow older, you start to realize like that things will change, and if you don't adapt to that change, like you're gonna get left behind, to be honest. And so senior year comes, and I find myself like still loving the game, but I started to feel like the game was a chore. I started to feel like I had to show up at practice, and it was more like a chore than it was being having this love and affinity for the game. And that's when I started to realize like I'm growing, I'm maturing, and I'm learning, but I'm also realizing that something that I spent 7, 8 years doing on my free time is starting to feel like I wasn't having fun. It wasn't fun anymore. And I started to learn that if I keep going and if I keep forcing myself to do this, I'm going to hate the game. And I had too much respect for the game of basketball, too much respect for the people that came and taught me how to play the game, too much respect for officials that were still organizing around this game called basketball, and too much respect for those who sacrificed so much to get me to gyms, to get me to practices, to buy me equipment, lend me their shoes because we couldn't afford brand new shoes. I had too much respect for it in general, and I started to realize senior year that this was not fun anymore, and I started to feel like I was at that space where I'm starting to hate it because it started to feel like if I didn't do it, then I was letting so many people down, and I didn't want to be in that place. And I was also learning and coming into my own skin and my own space. So most people real thought I had got cut from the team, which I didn't. And I think it was just easy to just say, yeah, I got cut. Because it was, if they thought it and they believed it, then I didn't have to explain myself. And you're 16, 17 years old. You're not looking to explain yourself to your peers. You're just looking to either fit in or just not be the brunt of everybody else's jokes or laughter. So I let people believe that I got cut. But third game into the season, I walked away from the game because I didn't want to hate the game. I respected too much to get to a point where I would let myself hate it. And as a result of that, I spent my latter part of my senior year um, still holding on to my jersey. I was number 45 at Hilo High Vikings, but I didn't play. I didn't suit up. I didn't even go to the games as a spectator. Um, and then I look back at it, I wish that I've had the maturity to at least be okay with just supporting my teammates at the time. And I'm pretty sure a lot of them might have been mad at me for not continuing. Um, but that's part of the hardships of growth and learning that, like, your formidable years, your teenage years, really do give you this insight on what you think life is going to be like later. And I wish now that I knew that, I wish what I knew now, I knew then that it was going to be okay. But I had to trust. I had to trust that what I was doing, that the decision I made eventually was going to be better for me. And I look back, and if anything, it's taught me that um, sometimes something you love so much, when you walk away from it, you learn to appreciate it more. And so when I walked back into basketball and I got the opportunity to become a coach for a girls' team, a high school girls' team, um, back in 2022, 2023 school year, I came back to the sport because I respected it so much and because I still loved it. I came back into the sport knowing that it was going to take a lot of my time, knowing that it was going to take a bunch of commitment. But I realized 20 years, 20 plus years later, that there's a whole generation out there that deserves to love the sport just as much as I did or I do, and deserve to understand the sport from a female perspective, because there isn't a whole lot of female coaches locally in the state of Hawaii. There's the ratio of male to female coaches in the sport of basketball in Hawaii is massive. There's more men coaching the sport than there are females, and it's different. Um, So I walked back into the sport knowing that I wasn't going to be a player anymore, but I had something to contribute. Um, and it's more on the personal and character side of the sport. I think it's important to build the character of the player and not just the skill set of the player, because skills will get you as far as injuries. And then after that, you still got to have this muscle, right? You still got to understand how to still be a part of the game, even when your body says time to rest. And so I don't look at the sport now as an athlete playing the sport, but actually as somebody who was given the opportunity to play the sport at my prime age, and then coming back and looking at how do we build the character of new female Wahine basketballers out of the state of Hawaii. That's more important to me, because at the end of the day, it's the community around you, right? It's the community that built you in that, regardless if you saw it at 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. Coming back in the sport in my 40s gave me more respect for the game than I ever thought I could have. And I thought I had a lot of respect for the game. But coming back and watching a new generation live through something that I've lived through personally, and then being a part of contributing to it. I'm not perfect. I'm not the best coach. I know I love the game. I know I have something to contribute to it. I know I don't know everything. And I know that the sport is an evolving sport. But opportunities are very far and few in between. And so when it comes to just getting into the sport based on skills, if we're just teaching skills, we're not teaching them longevity. We're not teaching them how to stay in the sport even after you can't play it like you used to play it before. So you can still contribute to something that you held so dear to your heart, but can't do what you used to do with it in the past. That's the longevity of building the character around the game. And stepping back into basketball after walking away from it 20 plus years ago gave me mad respect for the game and how it's evolved, but also mad respect for the opportunities that it's giving young women nowadays. Young women. And it's giving us an opportunity to see a future beyond high school ball. But again, it comes with building the character. And it's not just about the skills of what they bring to the court, it's really about what they bring to the idea and the concept of basketball from beginning to end. So going back to coach into basketball as a coach, you know, I can sit here and say there's all the talent that I've seen come through the court and on the court. But the ones I think stick out the most, and the reason why I continue to go back coaching, is the ones that have potential that maybe nobody saw their talent or the opportunity to build talent. For those who kind of felt like this is something I might want to do, but I just don't know how to build into that space. That's the ones that I want to return to the basket, to coaching. Those are the ones that I want to come back and build on that, because the idea of having somebody come from nothing and learn to love something and have something to have an opportunity to find themselves, that's what drives me back to the court. And yeah, I'll be the first to admit I'm not, was I the best player of the sport? No, there's always gonna be people better than you. I don't care how good you are. Even the Michael Jordans and the Kobe Bryants will tell you they hustled because there was so much there was so much more people coming up behind them that was better at them at the sport. But what keeps us going, what keeps us giving back to the community that gave to us, was the potential of us seeing the love for the game and the respect for the game in other faces. And I look at that in my players, and even just the players in general in this generation. Like when they truly love the sport, they truly understand like sacrifice, grit, and accountability. Um, and if I can be a part of that growth, then that's the least I can do to give back to the sport that gave me so much. And that's one of the reasons why I walked back into basketball. But walking away from it when you're 17 years old, when the whole world around you for the last 7 years was all about the game, um, I look back at that and think of the maturity it must have took me to have to make that decision. And do I regret it? Absolutely not. I don't regret it at all. Taught me a lot about seasons in your life, and when the opportunity comes back and you can give back and give forward. That's all. That's really all it is. So I'm glad that I had the wherewithal at 17 to make that decision. Um, but at soon to be 45, if I can continue to contribute to our local community here on Hawaii Island as a coach, then I'll do my darndest to uphold the mad respect I have for the game and for those who taught me how to play the game. So I'm gonna leave you guys all at that. But just remember, if you have aloha in your heart, you have more aloha to share with the world. And I honestly and truly believe aloha will save the world 1% at a time. So if you can, always take aloha with you. And you find that it'll save you more often than not. So you guys have a good one. Aloha and ahuiho.